Let me ask you something. Would you like someone to constantly think of you? To always have you on their mind? Almost as if they were bewitched in a good way. Imagine that person is always in the initial phase of falling in love. That the spark never disappears. If this is what you are looking for, you are in the right place. Pay close attention and stay to the end, because I'm going to share with you a unique, eye-opening formula that will show you the mistakes you might have been making without realizing it. Even those that may be partly your responsibility, due to your behavior. But before I continue, I need you to trust me, so that we can have an honest and open conversation. If I'm going to bare myself to you with my truths, and share secrets, and even personal stories, I need you to open up to me as well. So tell me, have you ever been in a relationship where in the beginning, that special person was constantly messaging you? It doesn't matter if they were WhatsApp, texting, Instagram, Facebook, or X. That person commented on all your photos, sent you surprises home like flowers or chocolates, was always looking out for you. You would post a picture and there would be her, "I like it." Something would happen in your life and he would immediately ask you about it. Has this ever happened to you? Imagine that in the beginning everything was perfect. You received good morning messages every morning, lovely details for breakfast, comments on all your social media photos, and calls every night. However, one day all that changed. What once seemed like a fairy tale began to fade. The famous phrase, "and they lived happily ever after." It doesn't always come true. To better understand this situation, let's talk about an experiment conducted by Professor Frederick at Harvard in 1957. This experiment involved two groups of pigeons. In the first group, each time a pigeon pressed a button, it received a consistent reward, a seed. The pigeon quickly learned that by pressing the button, it always got its seed. And so, it constantly pressed the button in search of its reward. In the second group, the pigeons also pressed a button. But this time, the reward was variable. Sometimes they got a seed, and sometimes they did not. This unpredictable behavior made the pigeons more intrigued, and they would continue to press the button in the hope of getting a seed, even when they didn't always get one. What does this have to do with love and relationships? This is where the analogy comes in. In relationships, in the beginning, the attention and details are constant, creating a pleasant routine. But when that constancy changes to something more unpredictable, the uncertainty can keep the other person's interest and attention. It is the variability in response that often keeps excitement and interest in the relationship alive. To make this clearer, think of it this way. When someone gets used to receiving constant attention, and it becomes sporadic, it can generate a sense of desire and longing. Similar to the pigeons in the second group in Frederick's experiment. This is not to say that we should be manipulative, but that we should understand how human psychology and behavior work in our daily relationships. Imagine someone goes to a casino to play roulette. He knows he has a chance of winning, but he is also aware that most of the time he will lose. However, despite the losses, he still bets his money. This behavior may seem irrational, but it is something that occurs frequently in human beings. Now, let's go back to the example of a relationship. At first, this person you are interested in constantly sends you messages, surprises you with flowers, and is always looking out for you. This constant behavior becomes an automatic reward for you, creating a routine in which you always expect the same thing. However, when that person changes their behavior and the rewards become variable, they no longer send you messages with the same frequency, or comment on your social media photos, or say good morning or good night. Uncertainty begins to emerge. It is similar to what happens with gamblers in a casino. They keep playing and betting despite losses, because they remember that small chance of winning. In relationships, when the rewards become unpredictable, people have to hold on tighter, hoping that things will go back to the way they were before. To better understand this phenomenon, let's go back to Professor Frederick's experiment with pigeons. When pigeons received a constant reward from pressing a button, they knew exactly what to expect. But when the reward became variable, the pigeons kept pressing the button in the hope of getting the reward again. This behavior is a reflection of how people react in their relationships. when rewards and attention become unpredictable. So, if you understand this methodology and the philosophy behind Professor Frederick's experiment, you'll be able to manage your relationships better. You won't get hooked easily at the first sign of attention, and you'll understand that the variability in people's behavior can be a psychological tactic to keep you interested. At first, it's common for someone to go out of their way to please you and spend time with you. But over time, things can change. This is a natural thing. Like fruits and vegetables in the kitchen, they don't last forever. It is essential to learn to manage this transition and not get carried away by obsessive thoughts. When the other person starts to be less attentive, instead of worrying about the lack of attention, take advantage of that moment to take care of yourself. Don't fall into the trap of needing more and more from someone who no longer responds to you in the same way. The key is to make the other person obsessed with you, not the other way around. One story that illustrates this is that of Lucia. She used to receive constant messages and calls from her partner at the beginning of their relationship. Over time, those attentions diminished, and Lucia began to feel anxious and obsessed, wanting to regain that attention. However, understanding that this behavior was a psychological technique similar to Frederick's pigeon experiment, Lucia decided to change her approach. Lucia began to not always give automatic answers. If her partner called her, she did not always answer immediately, showing that she had a busy life of her own. By being less approachable and more unpredictable, Lucia noticed that her partner was again trying harder to gain her attention. So, the technique is not to give automatic rewards. If you get a call, don't always answer immediately. Show that you have your own commitments and that your time is valuable. This will make the other person value more every moment they share with you, and strive to earn your attention. This strategy not only helps maintain interest in the relationship, but also strengthens your own independence and self-esteem. Remember that interactions in a relationship are like a game of ping pong, where conversation and actions go back and forth between two people. If you want to attract someone, it's not just about being nice all the time. It's about maintaining a balance and creating interest. For example, if you send a surprise breakfast on a Monday to show your appreciation, don't do it every day. Perhaps repeat the gesture a month later. This variability in your actions will make the other person more attentive and look forward to your next moves. Think of it this way: when you do something special sporadically, the other person will start messaging you to hear from you, asking how you are doing and showing interest. This is no coincidence. You've probably met someone who, although not physically the most attractive, by common standards, always has the most beautiful or interesting people by their side. Have you ever wondered why? It's not that they have something special that you have. It's that they've learned to manage the balance between being approachable and being a bit mysterious. Take the case of John, for example. He used to accept all invitations he received instantly, especially if they were from someone he was interested in. However, he realized that this made him predictable, and over time, the other person began to take it for granted that he would always be available. So, Juan decided to change his approach. When someone would ask him out on a Friday night late, instead of always saying yes, he started declining some invitations. This made people value their time more and make more of an effort to plan ahead. Long-lasting relationships, like those of our grandparents or aunts and uncles, are not the result of playing games, but from setting boundaries and respecting yourself and each other, giving yourself your place, and not always being automatically accessible. Not only builds respect, but also keeps interest and excitement alive in the relationship. It's important to remember that it's not about manipulating. It's about making sure you both value and respect each other's time and effort. The purpose of this video is to give you a different perspective on relationships, based on Professor Frederick's famous experiment with pigeons. This experiment reveals how people can be conditioned by patterns of behavior, similar to how you were accustomed in the beginning with constant attention that then disappeared. It is important to remember that, although nothing lasts forever, we must not lose control of our emotions, nor let relationships dominate us. Consider Alicia, who always tried to schedule every aspect of her love interactions, from when to say I love you, to when to be distant. This rigidity caused her partner to start anticipating her moves, and as a result, the relationship lost its spark. Alicia realized that living with everything programmed did not allow for spontaneity and authentic exchange of emotions to flow. It is crucial to learn to manage your relationships in a more natural and fluid way. Not everything has to be planned. Sometimes, letting things happen spontaneously can bring surprising and positive results. Instead of scheduling every conversation, it allows interactions to be more organic. This prevents the other person from feeling like they're in a predictable pattern, and therefore, loses interest. Think of Mark, who was always available to his partner, no matter the moment. When his partner realized that he used to count on him, no matter what the situation, he began to take him for granted. If Mark had been a little more reserved with his time, and set clear boundaries from the beginning, the dynamics of the relationship would have been different. The key is balancing accessibility with mystery, ensuring that both parties respect and value each other's time and effort. If you've ever found yourself on an emotional roller coaster, wondering how you got to that point, it's important to reflect on the boundaries you set from the beginning. The warning signs were there, and it's crucial to recognize them and act accordingly. Lack of commitment from someone may be a sign that you need to step back and reevaluate your availability. Finally, I want you to live a full and happy life, full of healthy and exciting relationships. Learn to take control of your emotions and your relationships from the beginning. I hope this theory and these tips will be helpful on your path to an emotionally balanced life. Remember that you have the power to control your destiny. See you in the next video.